This week, Zur is on Nessus in his usual spot in Watcher's Grave. First, starting with armor. Well, okay, starting with exotics, folks. Hardlight is this is an exotic auto rifle that you can change its element. So I believe if you hold down the reload button, it will change to, I think, arc and then to solar. It's really an awesome perk. I personally don't use Hardlight because it just doesn't feel good. There's other auto rifles that I prefer. However, if you don't already have Hardlight in your collections, I strongly recommend you grab it. Nobody really used this gun. It was one of the most underrated guns, and last year Bungie asked people, hey, tell us what you think about exotic weapons. Which ones do you like the best? Which ones do you think need the most help? And Hardlight was one that most people brought up. And actually, it wasn't last year. It was the year before, I believe. Trials came out, and everyone was using Hardlight because Bungie over-buffed the gun. Shock. Like, they always over-buff or over-nerf things, and this gun was one of those things. This is still a relevant weapon, but fortunately we can all go back to playing with weapons that we actually like. But again, if you don't have this already, grab it so you have access to it in your collection so you can buy it and then delete it. Shards of Galanor. If you're a hunter main, or if you need to play Solar Hunter at any point in time, Middle Tree Solar will get up to half of its super energy back when you use this exotic. So basically, super a bunch of enemies, and depending on how many you get, you can get up to 50% of that energy back. This is a great exotic. I used to get almost my whole super back before they nerfed it. They've nerfed all of these super regen exotics for all the characters, but this is still a great exotic that I do currently use for my Blade Barrage build. Crest of Alpha Lupi. If you are a new Titan and you don't have this exotic, I consider this one of the base exotic pieces that you should add to your collection. Now, the stats on this are pretty decent. You've got 14 resilience and the Recuv Discipline and Intellect if you choose to masterwork it. And you could, this is worth masterworking if you have a good build of legendary gear to put around it. This will bring all of those up to the first tier, meaning that they're going to contribute 10 to 11 points to your build overall. So the 14 resilience will then become 16. I like to get, for an overall armor set, I like to get about 70 resilience minimum, 60 recuv minimum. This will put you on your way. It's pretty decent. But yeah, if you're a new Titan and you don't already have access to this in your collections, get this piece and save it until you get better armor. Sunbracer as well. I'm a Warlock main. I've got everything I need on my Warlock. I have Sunbracers that are masterworked, and I bought this the other day. When you look at these stats, holy wow! Look at that: 16 resilience, 14 intellect. The recuv is trash, but we'll just have to make sure that we get recuv on other armor pieces. Or we could put a recuv mod on this to bring it up either 5 or 10 points. But man, total 65 points, that high of resilience, that high of intellect. These Sunbracers are totally worth buying and vaulting. And if you're not a Warlock main, or if you don't even have a Warlock, honestly, it's worth it for you to buy this and vault it in case you someday see the light and decide to become one of us. And now for what most of you came for, the guns. Dire Promise. We actually had a PvP god roll, like the PvP god roll, I think 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. This one, not quite, but it's still really good. We have Hitmark, which is a great sight. High cal rounds will cause some flinching, although I've been told by quite a few PvPers that trying to flinch other players is kind of hit or miss. Like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. High cal rounds is something that's really good in PvE when you're going up against ogres, because if you're headshotting them, it'll flinch them and stop them from shooting you. It's really nice. Now, auto-loading holster I typically don't like on a hand cannon. I'd rather go with a reload perk or a damage perk, something else. but I mean, if you're someone who's constantly swapping your weapons, like let's say you're in PvP and you're swapping between your hand cannon and your shotty, this will be beneficial because when you switch to the shotty, by the time you get back to your hand cannon, it'll be reloaded. I mean, that's pretty nice. So not something I typically like on hand cannons, but I can definitely see the value, and some people love this perk. Swashbuckler. This is a great damage perk that I think some of us look at it as something that you can alternate with Rampage. For a hand cannon, for a kinetic hand cannon, which I'm more likely to use in PvP, I prefer opening shot or explosive payload, but Swashbuckler is a great damage perk, and you don't even have to like get a kill to proc it. Melees proc this thing, so you'll get damage with melee kills. I really love using Swashbuckler with a Stasis Hunter because like in PvE you can whip that shuriken out, get Swash times 5 immediately. If you're a Stasis Hunter main, Swash is a great perk for you. So, Dire Promise, not a god roll, but it is a good roll. If you don't have one, I recommend picking it up. JIAN 7, I really like this pulse rifle, and I think it's incredibly underrated. Now, the cool thing about this gun here is these are both gold tier perks, meaning the community overwhelmingly prefers these two scopes, not perks. These are great sights, guys. Go for them. The magazine, it's where it's really weak. Now, high cal rounds is highly preferred among the community. I have ricochet rounds on mine. I decided I liked ricochet rounds more. They give you more range. And for a pulse rifle, that's a weapon that I typically use at more of a distance. So ricochet rounds are super useful. Full auto trigger. I prefer full auto trigger on a pulse rifle. So this is absolutely required for me for this particular gun. Now, Outlaw is a great reloader perk. I love Outlaw. However, Outlaw and full auto trigger together means you don't have a damage perk. Now, this is something I'm probably going to use more for ad clearing. I personally went with Dragonfly on my gun, but you can also get Swashbuckler, but Rampage is available in this column. I strongly recommend Rampage or Dragonfly, depending on how you're going to play with this gun. So Dragonfly is great when you have a ton of ads, you get that headshot and everything explodes. Or Rampage, you just keep doing increased damage. So this is not a god roll, but it is a good roll. If you don't have the JIAN 7 rifle, I recommend picking this thing up and trying it out. You might want to go with Flared Magwell. For last, Perdition SPO 26, 28, and 57 are the top picks by the community. They're all great sights, and 2 of them are on this gun. Tac Mag is an absolute favorite for me, and it is a top pick for the community. Under Pressure, yeah, no, I don't really know of anyone who's like, oh my god, I just got Under Pressure, it's amazing. No, this is bad. Honestly, I went with Outlaw. Moving Target is also a possibility. Moving Target, in fact, is preferred by the PvP community. Well, actually, probably Rangefinder is, because that's a gold tier perk on light.gg. But I like Outlaw on this gun for reloads. Kill Clip is also a top tier perk. You can get full auto trigger, high cal rounds, Rampage, and Kill Clip on this gun. And Kill Clip is 100% a gold tier perk. Actually, looking at the gold tier perks on light.gg, whenever a Rangefinder is a top perk, you know that PvPers are using this gun. And I've been killed by this thing many times in Crucible. Rangefinder Kill Clip, winning combination. So while we don't have Rangefinder, this is almost a god roll. This is not a god roll, but it's a great roll. As a PvEer, I typically like full auto trigger on my pulse rifles. I use a trackball mouse, so it makes it easier for me to maintain a good aim if I'm not constantly trying to click at a higher rate of fire, which you can do. You know, you should be trying to do a high rate of fire with a pulse rifle. But I actually have Rampage on my gun, and the reason why is because when you look at this column, there really aren't any damage perks in this column that are available. They're all, yeah, none of them are really damage perks. That means you need to get a damage perk in this column. So I would forego full auto trigger in favor of Rampage or Kill Clip. So yeah, not a god roll, but it is a great roll. I highly recommend. CQC 12 is a great shotgun. I really love this thing for PvE. It has mixed reviews for PvP. Some people love it. Some people hate it. I, who am not a good shotgunner, like I've been trying to become good at shotgunning for the last year and a half. I like this gun for PvP. And I ultimately chose to get rid of my PvP roll because there's other shotties that I used, and I kept my PvE roll instead. But you can get like one of each. This is such a solid gun, and I think they're still readily available. Generally with shotguns, I personally always go for full choke and assault mag as my barrels and mags. The one that I have in my vault, I have a choice between full choke and small bore. Guys, small bore is a top tier perk. That is the gold perk on this gun. So I like to have the option. Full choke is more popular among PvPers specifically, but overall, small bore is the top perk, which means, honestly, that includes everybody, PvP, PvE. So neither one of these are really that great, although both are blue perks, meaning they are more PvE focused, but even as a PvE main, there are better perks. Go with full choke or small bore. For the mag, I always go assault mag. Like seriously, always go assault mag. The other top tier perk is tac mag. Like I said earlier, tac mag is always a great perk to have on a gun. If you can't get assault mag, settle for tac mag because honestly, you're not really settling. It's a great mag. So this particular CQC 12 has a failing mark on both barrel and mag. Auto-loading holster can be really useful in both PvE and PvP. Now, that dire promise, look, if you're looking for a shotgun and hand cannon combo, the hand cannon's pretty decent that Xur has. The shotgun, not so much. However, I would recommend getting this. You're going to have a decent shotty if you go corkscrew and light mag. And the auto-loading holster, what you could do is, since both of these guns have auto-loading, it's just trade back and forth. You know, when you run out of ammo on the hand cannon, swap to your shotty, swap back to your hand cannon. They'll keep reloading when you go to use the other gun. Snapshot sights can be really useful on a shotgun because generally in PvP you want an ADS because it gives you more range, and snapshot's nice because you have a faster ADS, which means you can react more quickly in PvP. I don't have a need for snapshot in PvE. The other problem is that I would want the damage perk in this column if I use snapshot sights. So you always want to have that damage perk. And we don't really have a damage perk in this column. The only 4 perks that come here are quick draw. A lot of people like quick draw snapshot. Those are popular for PvPers. Quick draw, auto-loading holster, lead from gold, and slide shot. Slide shot's immensely popular. That's actually the gold tier perk on this gun. Slide shot is what PvPers really love. Vorpal is great for shooting guardians out of their supers. It's also great for use against bosses. Now, for PvE, I would want lead from gold. Seriously, this shotgun loads so easily. I would just go lead from gold. Don't even waste the auto-loading holster. And then I would go either trench barrel or Vorpal. My gun that I have that I chose as my god roll, I have full choke, assault mag, lead from gold, and Vorpal. So this particular gun, it's not a god roll. It's kind of a good roll. Like I said, if you're a new Guardian and you don't have that shotgun and hand cannon combo for PvP, get both the Dire and the CQC 12 from Xur right now. Take them in there and feel them out. Get used to them. And then as you get better rolls, you can replace these. But these two together could be fun. Hollow words. Okay. This is fusion rifle season. So you want to have fusion rifles. And this is the gun that came out last summer. And I finally got a roll that I really like. And it's pretty solid. Now, there seems to be 4 barrels that people are choosing between, and one of the gold barrels is Chambered Compensator. I personally never use Chambered Compensator. It's not a top tier perk for me. If you want to use this as your barrel, take comfort in knowing that a lot of people love this on this gun. Fluted barrel is also very popular, as is polygonal rifling. And the other thing is small bore. I have small bore on mine. That's what I chose to use. The reason why, Chambered Compensator gives you +10 stability, recoil, and -5 handling, but small bore gives you +7 range and +7 stability. I find with fusion rifles, I like range. So I tend to go for more of a PvP role than a PvE role, even though I use these in PvE. For the batteries, neither one of these are top tier. Honestly, everyone goes with liquid coils. That's usually preferred by PvEers, or projection fuse, which is usually preferred by PvPers. I went with projection fuse. That's my favorite. Lead from gold is actually legit. This is great because if you pick up heavy, that heavy brick will also give you special ammo for this weapon. It's great. However, I tend to go with Feeding Frenzy on my fusion rifles. I like that super fast reload. Oh my gosh, I'd rather have that. And that is what I have on mine. Disruption break. Breaking an enemy's shield with this weapon makes them more vulnerable to kinetic damage for a brief period. I don't know how this works in PvP. I'm going to be dead serious with you. That is a perk. That is a gold perk. People are using it. People are also using Unrelenting on this weapon. Rapidly defeating targets triggers health regen. Honestly, until this point, I never really had a use for Unrelenting, but looking at the available perks on this thing, I might be willing to try Unrelenting, so I might have to get a new god roll. We'll see. Vorpal Weapon. Increased damage against bosses, vehicles, and guardians with their super active. I have Vorpal on my... I have small bore, projection fuse, feeding frenzy, and Vorpal. I basically have a PvP role that I really enjoy for PvE. I generally am not going to use my fusion rifle against bosses, although I should test out my fusions one of these days. Maybe we'll do that. And I'm personally not a fan of disruption break for fusions. Guys, I'm going to be real with you. This is a crappy roll. Don't bother. Berenger's Memory is not a grenade launcher that I've heard from anyone as being good for boss fights. I would think this would be more of an ad clearing weapon. And honestly, the perks on it, I don't feel like there's a lot of really great perks for this weapon. So starting with the launcher barrel, both of these are perfectly fine. For one is actually, this volatile launch is used by PvPers. And hard launch is used by PvEers. I personally prefer linear compensator or smart drift control on my guns. Linear compensator is probably the top tier perk by PvPers when it comes to grenade launchers. And honestly, PvEers love it too. Smart drift control, it's often picked as a PvE perk, but I don't know why more people don't like it. I've never really tested them, and I think we need to do that. But Smart Drift Control gives you +10 stability and handling, +5 velocity, and +15 recoil. Linear Compensator gives you +5 stability, velocity, and blast radius. And that blast radius number is probably why people like Linear Compensator. So your aim can be a little crappy. This is a direct hit grenade launcher. It's not gonna bounce. For the magazine, this is a pretty easy pick. Some people do like alloy casing, but honestly, if you're gonna be doing any kind of damage to any kind of bosses or majors, go spike grenades. When in doubt, go spike grenade. No, really, spike grenade. But also for PvPers, proximity grenades tend to be more popular. Grenades fired from this weapon have increased proximity detonation or detection, but a decreased blast radius. So if you're really good with your aim, prox grenades are a good choice for PvP. But yeah, spike grenades. I can't stress that enough. This should be clown cartridge. Quick draw is a gold perk, as is disruption break. We have shield disorient here. Nobody is choosing shield disorient. Demolitionist is also a gold perk on this weapon, meaning lots of people are picking it. Quick draw and Disruption Break are honestly, I think this gun might be more popular among PvPers. When I'm looking at the perks that are most popular, when it comes to PvE, there's way better grenade launchers. I personally went with Smart Drift Control, Spike Grenades, Clown Cartridge, and Demolitionist. I really don't like what's available in this final column, honestly. But yeah, I figured Demolitionist was probably the best perk. You can get Rampage, but nobody's picking it for some reason. And I don't think you get a lot of ammo in it, so maybe that's why people aren't using Rampage. So, honestly, guys, this is a crap roll. I wouldn't bother. And our final gun today is the Keening. I'm going to be honest with you. Full auto trigger is not available on this gun, and this frame does not have an intrinsic full auto trigger. As a trackball mouse user, I really want full auto trigger on my sidearms. Otherwise, for some reason, it's hard for me to aim. And I haven't really used it too much. I'm not quite sure exactly what I want on these guns. The top tier perk, and I think the community is right, hammer forged rifling is what most people are picking. Top tier PvE perks are corkscrew and fluted. I do have one with fluted that I can test that I haven't already, and I have another one with corkscrew. Arrowhead break isn't being used by anybody. Full bore isn't either. But I think full bore, given how hammer forged rifling is a top tier perk for this gun, out of these two, I think full bore is perfectly fine as a selection. Ricochet rounds. Nobody's really using armor piercing. Ricochet rounds I have on both of my Keenings, and the reason why this is really good is because not only does it increase stability, but it increases range. People want more range with these weapons. This is kind of like an SMG. It's for closer range combat, so if you can increase that range, you can get more damage off. Moving target is a popular PvP perk, and looking at the popular perks on this gun, I think this is used more by PvPers, which makes sense because it's a PvP drop. It drops from Crucible. Moving target is popular among that crowd, but also rapid hit. If you get those headshots, guys, rapid hit is the top tier perk for this weapon. Wellspring, it is a popular perk among PvPers, but the overall perk that people are going for on this gun is multi-kill clip. So I would go full bore, ricochet, and if you need a sidearm, if you need an arc sidearm, or you just like to have a Keening in your vault, this is not a god roll, but it is a good roll. And there you have it, folks. No god rolls with Xur this week, but he does have some good rolls, and if you are a warlock, you should definitely pick up those sunbracers. If you'd like to support this channel, liking and commenting on the videos tells YouTube to share these videos with others who may find them useful. If you'd like to provide monetary support to help keep this channel up and running, visit my locals and subscribe star communities.